It's Mom and Pop Video Shop.
All right, welcome to Mom and Pop Video Shop, and I have a special treat for you folks out there. I am joined by one Clint Kelly, who is, I don't know, let's see, director of photography, actor, writer, producer, maker of, I guess, really awesome opportunities to get SOV movies, because I want to talk to you at some point about that, about Sledgehammer, right? That's the one that you, okay, cool. I want to, if we have time, I want to address that as well. So point is, guy does a lot of stuff. And if you are familiar with the Chris Seaver verse, as it were, you will recognize Clint, because as somebody who is a very, very late bloomer to the Chris Seaver world, so I'm on Tubi, and I see this doc called Zero Budget Heroes. I'm like, oh, I love those kind of docs. I just love anything to do with VHS or what. Like, oh, cool, I'll watch this. I loved it. I thought it was so great. And recently, as a way to help support Wellsville, I got both the Blu-ray and the VHS.
There you go.
Out there. There we go. And so, fantastic doc. If you don't get a chance to see it, but that then led me down this very, let's just say, filthy rabbit trail of Chris Seaver movies, everything from like, T-Ape to name it. So I've got quite a few titles, including many of which you were the cinematographer on, sitting here next to me.
Awesome.
And so I know we have somewhat of a limited time, but I want to address as much as we possibly can.
Yeah,
so right off the bat, I want to ask you, and of course my phone locks me out right when I'm about to look up my questions. When and or how did you start getting into filmmaking?
So I used to be a skater kid from middle school to high school. So I would go out with my buddies and we'd skate around. And I've always been like a movie fan ever since I was a kid, especially a horror movie fan since I was like 5 years old. I remember watching Halloween and falling in love with horror movies. So I was always obsessed with horror movies. Joe Bob Briggs was a big influence on me as a kid, watching Monster Vision. So I was always into movies, but I wasn't really so much into making them as I was a kid. But when I get older, like my teenage years, I was a skater, started watching a lot of skate videos, and I wanted to make skate videos. So for Christmas one year, my grandmother got me a high 8 camera, and me and my buddies would film skate videos. And at the time, CKY was starting to become really big, the Bam Margera skate video, where it was like half skateboarding, half like skits. So we would kind of emulate that. We would film ourselves skating, then we'd film little stupid skits and short films. And eventually I just kept like taking neighborhood kids and filming like little horror shorts. Like I remember one of the first things I filmed was like a basketball game that went awry. And the person that lost the basketball game was like this little girl, and she ripped her brother's eyes out because her brother beat her in basketball, so she got angry. And I would use like not watermelons, I'd use like cantaloupes and stuff, and I'd put like wigs on the cantaloupe. Do you remember like the My Buddy doll?
Oh yeah, of course.
I had a My Buddy doll, and I clipped some of its hair off, and I would tape it to like a cantaloupe, and I would like reuse the hair, and I'd shoot it from the back and like have people stab the cantaloupe or smash the cantaloupe and stuff. So eventually it just like evolved into filming these little like shorts, these little like horror shorts. And it wasn't until college that I realized like, man, I really like doing these like little shorts. Like I want to take more classes, video classes. So I started taking video classes, and I got great grades and realized like it's really what I wanted to do. So I just kept taking classes in college. I didn't go to college for that. Like I minored in like media, but so I went to college for business, and then took all these like minor courses in media, documentaries, all this stuff, and did all these like movie classes. So realized that like I don't really want to do anything with business. I want to do like movies. So like after college, I just started getting involved with making my own stuff and helping people. Like I used to live in Baltimore. I now live in Tampa. But when I was in Baltimore, I would meet up with local filmmakers. I'd go to any like event to network. And eventually I just got like involved with local Baltimore filmmakers who were making horror movies, and just became friends with them and just started doing whatever, like I was always great with shooting. Like, I think one of my better talents is I have like an eye for like a cool shot. So that's what I did. And eventually just directed my own like short films. When I was in my 20s, I attempted to make a feature film called Generation Z. And it failed horribly. It was like a killer kids movie. We tried to shoot it in Lansdowne, Maryland with me and my two buddies. We had George Stover in it. If you know who George Stover is, who was in a lot of Don Dohler's movies in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it failed horribly. And it like kind of like put this thing in my head, like, okay, maybe I'm not ready to direct right now. So let me just focus on being like a cinematographer. Mm-hmm. So that's really how it all started. And I worked at a video store. So I actually worked at Hollywood Video when I was a teenager. Then from there, I worked at a place called Movie Stop, which was like you could buy, sell, and trade movies, you know? So I worked at Movie Stop for a while. And then when I moved to Florida, I started doing videography full-time. So I'm now a full-time videographer. I've been since 2015, just shooting stuff. I shoot everything. I go to events. I've done commercials. I've done music videos. I mean, I've just done like a whole bunch of stuff. So really, it all just it came from my grandmother buying me a Hi8 camera when I was like 13, and haven't looked back since.
Well, that's very cool, because I had a sense that you started with, we'll get to this, but you started with Chris in around 2011, correct?
Yep.
With the Warlock stuff. So ultimately, I would have found out like how you ended up going from Baltimore to connecting with him to become a part of that world. Yeah. But yeah, you know, because I believe, and I also have this in my notes to get to your first film with him, which I'll hold that off for a second, what it is. Yeah. But having viewed that, also probably the most recent feature that I know of that you guys did together, I've also seen. You didn't seem like somebody who had never done this before and we're winging it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The lighting is good. The images are sharp. You know, definitely, you know, I get that the VHS Warlock stuff is intentionally what it is. That I get. 100%. Right. Yeah. I'm all on board with that. I love it. But the other stuff definitely has a much more professional sheen to it. Let's just put it that way. So you're welcome. And the thing is, I guess the main question then is how you got involved with Chris.
So I met Chris. It had to have been in early 2011. We met at a convention called Monster Mania in Baltimore. We were introduced by a mutual friend. And at the time, I really wanted to make shot on video movies, and I wanted to market it as lost 80s movies. Like, that was what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I had all these titles and like stuff I wanted to do. Because I just didn't want to take it seriously. I just wanted to go out and film something and just have fun, you know, not have to worry about lighting and a lot of money and having to pay actors and all that. So our mutual friend introduced us, and Chris told me that he was doing this thing called Warlock Home Video, where it was exactly what I wanted to do. It was these movies, ridiculous titles. They were going to be shot on video, and he was going to market them like they were lost 80s movies. So from there, excuse me, from there, I was hooked. Excuse me.
It's all
right. We hit it off. We just really did. Like, it was just from the beginning, like our sensibilities were right in line. So we friended each other on Facebook. A couple months go by, and he starts telling me about this movie that he's making called Death of Lantern. Mm-hmm. And he wanted me to come up to act in it. And I'm not really like an actor, but he was like, that's great. We don't really need actors. We just need people who can know what these movies are. And I was a shot on video fan. So I knew exactly like what kind of acting he wanted from me.
Yeah.
So it was close to October, I think, 2011, where I drove up to Rochester, New York. It was only like a 6-hour drive from where I lived in Maryland. And when I got there, it was like late at night, and he met me outside and he was like, okay, we're going to go to sleep right away because we got to wake up early in the morning. We're going to drive to Wellsville, New York, which is where Chris is from. And we're going to shoot the movie like immediately and start. So I get in and there's a blow up mattress in the kitchen. He lived in a really tiny apartment. It's like a 1-bedroom apartment. So there's a blow up mattress in the kitchen. He's like, okay, this is where we're going to sleep tonight. And I was like, what? We? He's like, yeah, this is where we're going to sleep tonight. Like, okay. So the first night, like we ever like really hung out with each other. Yeah. We slept together in the same blow up mattress in the middle of his kitchen. And so that's awesome. We've been thick as thieves ever since. Yeah.
And that's what's funny watching from the outside. I want to touch on the fact that you guys do the SOV Vigilante show, which I'm absolutely in love with. I love that show. Yeah. And watching you guys in that and having seen some of the behind the scenes stuff from some of the other movies, I legit thought you guys could have been childhood friends. Like you have that vibe. So that's a cool story.
We really just vibe really well together. And the thing is we're both kind of like stubborn people, you know, but he's definitely way more stubborn than I am. But also like we can talk to each other, like we'll argue, you know, if we're on set, we definitely can get into arguments, but we also like kill any sort of tension very quickly. Yeah. You know, it's like I always think like he's like an older brother to me. It's just like the way our relationship is. It's like very much like an older brother, younger brother, you know? Yeah. We can make fun of each other and have in jokes and everything, but like at the end of the day, we're just, you know, very good friends. So yeah.
That's really cool. So I think I asked Chris this as well, but I love your take on it. The VHS Warlock stuff, you guys shot that in what, a day or two?
Yeah, we would shoot. Yeah, it was, looking back on it, it's crazy. Like 2 days.
Yeah. Nuts. I honestly, I'm not going to lie. So as a, you know, one-time aspiring independent filmmaker who is wanting to dabble back in it again, when I made my one feature, which is a whole other story, we legit did like a 10 to 14 day shoot between everything. Like, I don't know. I know you said you worked on a feature, so I don't know what your time frame was. I guess in my mind, I mean, to be fair, a lot of time was wasted. Like, I'm sure I could have done it like at least half the time. Right. But I can't fathom. Now, if you were like, the great thing about the Warlock stuff is obvious, and you already alluded to this, you know, grab that camera and like, if the take sucks, that's fine. That's part of the charm.
Yeah. Really, that was it. So Chris actually shot the first Death and Lantern movie. And it was a lot of, just he'd be over here. Okay, you say this. All right, that's good. You'd say this. So I don't think we ever did 2 takes. And we started very early. You know, we started at like 7 a.m. and we'd go till midnight, you know, and we'd be filming all day. But with Death and Lantern, what was great about it is that we were all having a blast. Like, I still say it's the best time I've ever had making a movie. And there was downtime in between scenes. So you could like hang out and talk, and a lot of the times with Seaver movies, you can't really like talk, you know, and have a good time and relax. It's pretty much go, go, go. But with Death and Lantern, it just came so naturally to all of us, and it was so fun. And the setting we were in really helped. Wellsville really does look like a town that was stuck in the 80s. So when we're running around and we're in full like outfit, it was like we were really doing it, you know? So it was a very special experience, and I've been chasing that dragon ever since, you know?
The cool, I watched Death of Lantern. Your performance was amazing, by the way, just stellar.
Thank you.
It was funny because I think other than occasionally catching a car from, you know, that'd be like a 2008 or 9 or whatever car, Yeah, the vibe of everybody was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I watched Death of Lantern 2 immediately following it, and it threw me off for a second. I'm like, wait, why is this 16:9? Wait, what's happening? And then I realized I got the full context. This is supposed to be as if Warlock is like a little bit later on, right? Or like had your new owners. I don't know I feel like Chris probably explained this already better than I'm muffing it, but ultimately it's supposed to be a later era Warlock movie, but the idea is still the same, that these are these lost shot on video, just happens to be digital video.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just, we shot that. I actually shot Death of Lantern 2 and we just shot it on a little handy cam that Chris had. And
it looked good. I mean, I figured it wasn't like, 1080p or 4K, but the DVD, the version I watched, it looked good.
Yeah. Yeah. Death of Lantern 2 was interesting just because it's so different than the first movie.
Yeah.
But we all had fun making it. It was just, we shot it at Chris's house. So we didn't really have that like Wellsville feel to it.
Yeah.
And right.
Yeah. For those out there that are looking to pick up their copy.
Yeah. You got to get that one.
Yeah. Got to get that one. Is that also the one that ends with that amazing music video?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that was, it was so out of, I don't know why. Again, I'm relatively new to the Seaver world, but it should seem normal that something like that would happen. But that was amazing. Yeah, loved it. That was great. All right, so you end up being in several Chris Seaver productions, right? Because I also watched and have actually the one that I really was excited to get first was Dingleberries.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge Critters fan. I love Tiny Terrors. I mean, anything like I've got, here you go. You'll appreciate this, I think. I found some guy on Etsy who made like little minions. There you go. Yeah. And I've got Morty from Tales from the Crypt. Remember the Don Rickles episode?
Yeah.
So any tiny, and a Munchie from Munchie's. Yeah. So
I see elves on the shelf behind you.
Oh, I love Tiny Terrors. I'm wearing a Leprechaun shirt, for God's sake. I love Tiny Terrors. So I heard about Dingleberries. I'm like, oh, bro, I'm in. I shot on video, Critters-esque movie where they're turds.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's the disc too, where you guys have like a good almost hour-long conversation, right? Is that this one? I think it's this one.
It's possible. I don't know. I wasn't in, actually. I didn't have anything to do with Happy Holidays or Dingleberries.
So maybe it's the Death of Lantern disc.
It was probably,
Yeah, it probably is. But I know there's one of them where it was probably what I watched Dingleberries, popped a Death of Lantern, and then saw the extra with you guys first, and then watched I do things weird.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it was funny because so you were in Death of Lantern 1 and 2, right? And then now the remake is the one you directed, correct?
So Chris,
I'm sorry, I meant director of photography. Sorry.
Yeah, I shot it with Sean King. Me and him like co-shot it. But
okay. Yeah, that one I have not watched yet. I have it here though. I kind of went on a run with Chris. I was like, send me all of these.
Yeah, you got to watch that one.
I will. It's on my list to do for sure.
It's funny, but it's like one of our best looking movies.
Okay. Actually, well, and I'll jump way ahead here. I thought Weirdsies.
Oh yeah.
I watched that on Tubi, and I ended up picking. Actually, this was relatively recent that he sent this one to me. But yeah, I thought that would look great too. Like it looked, and lots of. And the thing was, is that what jumped out at me was there was like a level of variety and coverage that would imply it took longer to make, but did it take much longer? Was it still like 3 day shoots?
4 days.
Wow. Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
4 whole days. Huh?
Yeah. It was three or 4 days, but I think it was closer to 4. So
do you guys shoot chronologically, or is it, do you still try to shoot like everything in an area, move to the next? Okay.
Yeah. Chris does the schedule and everything.
Oh, wow. So he full on maps it out. Yeah. Cause I can't imagine you'd be able to accomplish this unless you were really organized with getting it done. Yeah. That's the thing. When I, again, even though in hindsight, I apparently like lived in the lap of luxury with a 10-day shoot. Right. I remember we were very meticulous. Even then, we were just making crap up as we went along. I just remember I had to have it super regimented. And so, yeah, that's, I'm my hat's off to you guys. And I think what also comes through, and obviously I know no situation's ever perfect, and some movies I'm sure are more of a nightmare to make than others.
Yeah, of course.
But I get this sense though that the core of you guys really loves each other and working together and just has so much fun. And that's the piece I miss on a personal level. And I especially in the doc, like I just felt that like it's tangible. You know what I mean?
We love each other so much that we would rather be doing anything else than making a movie when we're together. The movie is literally the least thing we all want to do when we're together. We really, a lot of the times don't want to make the movie.
Yes.
You know, we just want to hang out. There's nothing better than if we get finished early on a day and we have time that we can all hang out, go to a restaurant and then watch a movie afterwards. Like we are all so like close and like love just hanging out with each other that's cool. That's our favorite thing to do.
That's really cool though. It's cool that you guys have that because, you know, a lot of and I'm sure you've experienced this to some degree, you know, even if you're in like the world of like micro budget stuff, you could still run into that every once in a while, that air of, I'll just say what it is, bullshit, where you just, you know, some people have like agendas and they have like a dream of going to La La Land, and that's cool. Good for you. But it could lead to dynamics that are less than preferable.
Of course, yeah. It's not like that at all. We know what we're making first off, and we know we're not making high art.
Yes.
We're in it. We're really in it to just hang out with each other and make each other laugh. Yeah. Like if we can make each other laugh during a take, that like we've done our job. Like we want to make Chris laugh behind the scenes so that when he yells cut, he's cracking up. Yep. We're all cracking up. We always have like a in joke each movie, like something we'll say or we'll do, or just like something ridiculous. But yeah, it's a lot of heartache sometimes to make the movie just because of how fast we have to do it. And it just will drive you crazy, but it's also, I wouldn't want to do it with another group of people than the people that we do it with.
Sure. How approximately, and I know this would vary, but how many hours a day do you guys shoot?
I don't 15.
Okay. You know? Yeah. So I don't know how after 15 hours you still want to like do anything, because despite my ability to like talk to people one-on-one, I'm a very introverted person. Yeah. So like my battery runs down super fast. Right. You know what I mean? So like after 15 hours, I would just have to go die and then come back.
Some of us do. I mean, you know, some of us do just. And we all know each other. We all know each other's like ticks and quirks and all that stuff. So it's like, it's great.
That's cool. So I alluded to this before, but you're if you need to pause it and get a beverage or something, man, feel free.
I'm just sipping my water.
All right. So I have here your debut as the Chris Seaver DP. Yep. Sex Squatch. But you know what's funny? I think it may have even been before I saw the doc, or it was right around the same time. I guess, did SRS put out Sex Squatch 2? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was like 1 and 2 on a Blu-ray.
I have one. Yeah, this is 1 and 2 I got from Chris. I don't know if theirs has 1 and 2 or not, but yeah, I definitely know this one did.
Yeah, they only have a DVD.
Okay, I gotcha. So I remember seeing I guess for like a better way of putting it, the poster for that on like when I get those SRS emails. Yeah. And it was just the foot with the condom. Right. Yeah. And one of my kids is like looking over my shoulder. My sons are all teenagers now, so it just started to just bust. That other thing I feel like too is Chris Seaver is like every teenage boy's sense of humor.
Exactly.
Ever. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you are or ever have been, you will appreciate the nuttiness. But yeah, I'm actually, so I started it and I just finished your death scene. Actually, I saw your takedown, and it was kind of romantic. If I'm honest. Right. Yeah. So it's hilarious. It is really funny. And I loved so if anybody gets a chance, go over to It Crept from the 80s, Chris's YouTube channel. He does making a craptasterpiece?
Making a crapsterpiece.
Crapsterpiece, that's it. Yeah. Where you guys discuss the making of various movies you've done, and you guys covered making Sex Squatch and Sex Squatch 2, which I haven't watched yet, but after the back and forth, there's a part of me that goes, well, I mean, I'll watch. I think there's a commentary too, right?
Yeah.
So I'll probably watch it just with the commentary.
My mind always changes every time I see Sex Watch. I either love it or I'll hate it.
The first one or the second one or both?
Sorry, part 2.
Oh, part 2. Okay.
Sex Watch 1, I always laugh.
Yeah,
There's so many good lines in it.
Yes.
So that was another one that was a blast to make. Anything that we make that's like on a location has always been more fun than like the stuff that we do like just at like a house or something, you know. So for Sex Watch 1, we went to it's like an hour away from his house in Rochester. It was on the some lake in New York, and we rented out.
Location. It was beautiful.
Yeah, we rented out this little lake house.
Yeah,
and it was great. I mean, we had a blast, you know. But then Sex Watch 2, we shot in Chris's house, and it just kind of became like old hat, you know, like, yeah, we're going back to Chris's house and we're shooting the same stuff again, you know?
Yeah.
But there's some funny stuff in 2. There really is. We watched it. I think last time we shot a movie in Rochester, we watched Sex Watch 2 and got some okay laughs.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's funny because I wonder if the dynamic is because you guys have done so much together.
Yeah.
That when you get to be in a new location, that there's a creative energy to that because your brain immediately, especially, you know, you being a cinematographer, you're immediately thinking through like, oh, we could use this. And I just feel like there'd be this, the creative juices would flow. Whereas if it's a place you've shot a bunch of stuff or you've been in a million times, the energy level goes.
That's definitely it. You know, it's like you can be so much more creative in a spot that you've never seen before. Whereas I've shot this house 5 times now. How am I going to make this look interesting? But there is like an exception to that, like Evil Night. We actually did shoot it completely.
Boom.
I tried my best to shoot it completely differently than anything else before. And I actually really was happy with how Evil Night turned out. Like, I think it looks like a horror movie where a lot of our stuff looks like a comedy. Yeah. The lighting is more lit like a comedy. I think Evil Night, we actually did a good job of making it look like a horror film.
Yeah, I have not watched Evil Night yet, but again, on my short list. I'm making my way through the movies and the extras as I go. Yeah. And but yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, and I get. I will say though, yes, I totally see your point about lighting as if a comedy. Which obviously a movie called Sex Squatch. It's going to be one of two things. It's either a comedy or a really sketchy porno. So either way. But I thought the night stuff, like around the campfire, looked great. Like that was really well, like the way it was balanced and just it did, you know, it wasn't too harsh, but it was, you know, it looked really good.
Yeah, there's some stuff I'm very proud of in Sex Squatch. Sex Squatch was like 2.5 days.
Really?
Maybe.
That is so crazy.
Yeah. It was so fast and furious. And
do you guys use a tripod even, or is it pretty much just
no? It's sometimes, maybe very rarely. A lot of the times it's handheld. We're moving and stuff.
Yeah.
Later on, we started to do like dolly shots and crane shots. Like Weirdsies has like some crane shots in it and stuff. Yeah. And but yeah, Chris always wants like cool movement, you know?
It gives it energy.
Yeah, the movie we just shot, which I can't say what the title is yet.
I know, yeah.
Secret. We had it was very much feels like vintage 2000s era Seaver stuff.
Cool.
Very much camera moving in, moving out, you know, pushes and stuff. Like, we really wanted it to feel like an old school Seaver film. So there's a lot of camera movement in it.
Cool. Very cool. All right. So one of the other things I wanted to make sure I covered with you before we wrap things up. Are you doing okay time-wise and all that? Okay, cool, man. Definitely. All right. So Wellsville Nights. I have the pilot Blu-ray. I'm holding in my grubby little hand, which is actually great because you guys have that commentary on it, and you also have the read-through of the script, which is cool because you don't usually see that a lot. I think you have another. What are your? Well, actually, when I was listening to the interview, was it on Sex Squatch that you guys? There was one of the discs that you guys have a read-through as well. Like other than this,
yeah, it was was it Death of the Lantern?
Maybe I don't know.
I don't remember. Yeah, we've done a couple like film read-throughs. We actually have a read-through that I think Chris may have put up on his YouTube channel about a movie we didn't make. So but yeah, we, as often as we can, when we do get together, we try to do a read through first, just to get the voices down. Cause a lot of the characters, like I've played, I think the same character, throughout, pretty much all the movies. Lucas, I don't really stray from that character.
Yeah. So what is Chris's direction like? Is he just say more of that or less of that?
More jovial. Yeah. Faster, jovial. You know, he always says that. Amp it up, you know, like that was his big thing in Sex Watch 2, is that he just wanted everyone to be even more ridiculous. Yeah. So to like kind of make fun of him, I was like over the top. And he goes, I know you're making fun of me, but that's exactly what I want. Like, let's just go crazy. So yeah, a lot of the times it's, you know, it's just, say it faster, more jovial, more, you know, he really loves like facial expressions, like, you bug out your eyes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just funny because as you start to watch several of his movies, even from different eras back to back, you see the things that make the movies uniquely his. Yeah. And just that aspect of it. And it's almost like there's so many lines that just are so him, right? Based on what I've seen, that it's just funny to be like, I always wonder, is he the type that like tries to act it out for the person, or does he give them like just the general, like I feel like a lot of it probably comes through in the dialogue itself, like when you're reading this ridiculous dialogue, and if you've ever seen any of his other movies, you get it. He definitely acts out stuff too, you know, like how he wants it. He definitely is very much, he'll dance around and, you know, and shriek or whatever, you know, like he's very much like that, you know. But sometimes we'll just like, if you know, like worked with him enough, you'll just know kind of what he wants, you know? Yes. But yeah, he definitely gives direction, and will, you know, if he wants you to like emphasize a certain part of the word, because a lot of the times in the script, you know, like his stuff all has like a rhythm to it. He's very much like a Kevin Smith, a Quentin Tarantino, where his dialogue has, you know, like it has that voice to it, that those guys, you can tell like, oh, this is a Quentin Tarantino dialogue, this is Kevin Smith dialogue. Stuff is very much, this is Chris Seaver dialogue. And you know, like words not making sense or made up words, just like Kevin Smith, like snoogans and stuff, you know, like he very much does that, you know. So like if someone is having trouble reading one of his made up words, he'll say, no, it's actually pronounced skadoinked, you know, like, yeah, that helps. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. All right. So Wellsville Nights. Yeah. And this is the project you guys have, as already held up the Blu-ray, you guys have already done the pilot. This is the pilot episode. It's on here. Yep. For those that don't know, just the high level pitch, if anybody hasn't watched the other conversations I've had with Chris, I'll give you the floor if you want to do it. The just general pitch of what Wellsville Nights is. Yeah, Wellsville Nights is like a parody of 80s and 90s like teen soap operas like Degrassi, 15, to a lesser extent stuff like Saved by the Bell even, you know. It just deals with it's the shows that where being a teenager seemed like the absolute worst thing in the world. There was always drama going on. Maybe there'd be like some lighthearted laughs, but then at the end of those laughs, you know, someone would say like, I'm getting ready to have an abortion or something. You know, it's like just like the extreme. Yeah, these kids have like the worst lives imaginable, you know? So we're kind of making fun of those shows. And we're doing them in our absurd way. Like every episode deals with a different problem, like drug addiction, falling in and out of love. There is an abortion episode. So there is, it deals with a lot of the stuff these like teen dramas dealt with, but we're doing it. We're putting our own like absurd spin on it. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And having now seen the pilot, 100% that. I think before the pilot, I had seen the PSAs. Yeah. The one on queefing was just flipping amazing. That was, I found that hilarious because I'm a child. So
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. But the cool thing is you guys are trying to do an 8-part, right? 8-part series of total?
Yeah,
If you
there's
could get
8 episodes.
Yeah, and you're
for
one of the
season 1.
writers. You're one of the writers on it as well. So
Yep.
you're not just you are also one of the DP on it.
So I'm not. Zach Oliveris is
who did
shooting
the doc.
He is the director of the No Budget Heroes documentary.
Yeah.
Zero Budget Heroes.
Yes.
So yeah, he's shooting it. He got these cameras, these beautiful, huge studio cameras and everything.
Yeah, I asked Chris when he was on. He had some tapes. I said, "Are those DVC Pro?" And he goes, he pulled it out, and that's what I shot my feature on. It was an Ikigami DVC Pro. The thing was like this big,
right? Yeah,
massive.
So we've got a couple of those.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
I help out with like lighting and everything, like on set, just because I'm the only other person qualified to like help out.
Yeah.
And Zach's got a lot going on, and I know what it's like to be the DP on a Seaver thing, you know?
Yeah.
But what's great about just acting in Wellsville Nights and being the writer is that I can just focus on that. Like, and it's easier to memorize lines when I don't have to worry about setting up a shot, and it frees Zach up to just focus on shooting it. And then if he needs help, I can help in and just set up a light, you know? And so it's been great. Shooting the pilot was great, you know, and definitely writing with Chris and Casey was a lot of fun. Our sensibilities are so well in line that there's very little notes, you know? Chris will just go in and sprinkle a little stuff into the scripts to make it more sound like Chris, you know? But for the most part, it was a dream to write it, you know?
Yeah.
And there's some very funny episodes ahead in season 1.
Yeah. No, I thought the first episode was funny, and it also was well shot. And I loved there's this gauzy, it's like just right? Because you guys obviously shot on tape, but I'm assuming a lot maybe was done in post as well.
Yeah.
You know, color grading and whatnot to get that sort of almost dreamy.
Oh yeah.
You know, after school special vibe.
Yeah. Chris was very, very much involved with the look of this one. We were going to shoot it on, I have like some Canon GH1s, I think is what they were called. They're just like these old fixed lens, has like this huge lens like this. So we were testing out that, and then Zach got a hold of these big studio cameras, and they did a bunch of testing, and Chris loved the look. So he was very involved with the look of making it look like these, you know, like public access Canadian, because all those shows were Canadian, you know, like wanted it to look exactly like that. Yeah.
No, it looks great. So I would say I know myself and my co-host on this show, Tyson, we both have contributed, and I advise anybody who loves this kind of stuff to contribute, because I would love to see as many of the episodes get made as possible.
Yes, we're going to make the whole thing. So I appreciate you donating, and anybody else watching it. If this sounds good, it's very much like something that could appear on Adult Swim. I feel like, you know, it's like that. It's like very much an Adult Swim type.
And do you remember, was it Strangers with Candy? Like it has that same, like where everything's very played straight.
Right.
But it's obviously ridiculous.
Yes.
And the things they're saying are so absurd and, you know, crazy.
And Chris and I both love Strangers with Candy. So that's like a big, definitely a big influence on our filmmaking.
And The State. Did you ever watch The State?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, dude, I got the whole thing on DVD recently because I hadn't seen it since the 90s. Yeah. And I've been watching with my sons, and they're laughing their asses off. And it's so satisfying because it holds up so well. Like you think, oh, it'd be dated. It's like, no, it is hilarious. Yeah. It is great. That's awesome. No, man, Clint, I really appreciate you being here, man. So what other projects do you have going on besides Wellsville Nights? You know, are you working on other things outside of, you know, the work stuff?
Right now I'm writing a script for hopefully will be my first feature film. It came to me in a nightmare. I actually had like a nightmare about it. So I started writing it, and I'm actually working with a producer on it. Cool. So I'm hoping to finish that up. I've been a little under the weather for like about a month. So it was like I've been kind of out of commission. I'm finally starting to feel normal again. So just getting back into the swing of like normal life. Because when you're sick and like sick for like a long time, you just feel like doing absolutely nothing. Your brain is just all foggy. So hopefully I'm finishing that up in the next week or so. I've got like 60 pages in. It's a short script because it's all kind of done in one location, one actor sort of stuff. It's a horror movie. So hopefully I get that done and try to get some funding for it and hopefully start shooting it maybe in the fall, you know, when it gets a little cooler, because I'm not shooting a movie in summertime in Florida.
Yeah, it's funny. I can remember I was telling somebody this recently. So I just, and I'm sure you had this experience too. I don't know how much it affects cameras as much today. They're using, you know, cards and whatnot, but like all the mini DV cameras and everything in that Ikegami, they had like this humidity detector.
Oh yeah.
And they had that, it was shut down so fast. You're like, dang it. And then you got to like try to get it dried out before you could even remotely continue doing anything. It was so
that's why my first movie I attempted to make called Generation Z failed, because we were shooting on a Sony not a handy cam, but it was like a prosumer.
Like Sony. A VX1000 or something, or whatever.
I can't remember the exact name of it, but we shot on HD mini DV tapes.
Okay. Yep.
And the camera broke twice due to the humidity. So
wait, in Maryland?
Yeah. It gets humid. We were shooting in summertime because the movie dealt with kids. So we had to shoot in the summertime in order to use kids. It was about kids that turn into zombies.
Okay.
They watch like trash. It was like a take on like Disney.
Yeah.
They watch so much TV that it literally rots their brains and it turns them into zombies.
I love that concept.
Yeah. It was pretty fun there. And there was a lot, something like 30 something death scenes in it. It was too ambitious. It really was.
Yeah.
And the camera dying and then having to send it away, it would take like 20 days to fix. It just killed any momentum that we had.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. So did you actually finish it, or is it just...
Yeah, it's like 70% done.
Got it. Okay.
And then I was just like, I'm done, you know.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah, it's sad how those types of experiences can taint it for so long.
Right.
You know, because like I had my own share of issues with different things, and then we ended up having our 3 sons, and my wife and I had both been teachers, you know, public school teachers, and we decided we were going to homeschool them. And so there's like this window of time where my life is all revolved, which is fine. I would never change it for anything. Right. But it was good because it got me away from the negative juju of the whole thing. I was able, you know what I mean? Take that, because now that and then I watch you guys and I see what, I'm like, oh man, this is that vibe. That's what I miss. Just that fun, hey kids, let's put on a show kind of vibe. So no, man, I really appreciate you being here, and people should absolutely check out Wellsville Nights, support it. The GoFundMe link will be in the description below, as it's been going across the screen the entire time that I mentioned. It's in the description below. So definitely check that out. Clint, I hope I could get you to join me again, either like when you do the film. Obviously, I want to help promote and pimp that as much as I possibly can. But in the meantime, if it's at all possible, would love to, and even if you're ever interested, I know it's our first time officially meeting here. If this is a bridge too far, too weird, though, to be fair, you slept with Chris Seaver upon meeting him and really meeting him for the first time. So I, as you could see behind me, so I have like a little video store in my home, and I've had the occasion to have a couple people be able to stop by the shop and do an actual in-person.
Of course, I'd love to come and hang out. Like,
that'd be awesome.
I'm a big also like meeting people fan. I love meeting people.
Me too.
Especially people that I can tell like I would be friends with, you know? And the thing is, you know, being from Maryland, a lot of my friends still are in Maryland. I moved to Florida later in life, where I have friends here, of course, but like I like to keep to myself also. Like I hang out with my wife.
Yes, me too.
You know, my wife is my best friend.
Me too.
So like, but the thing is, she's not a horror movie fan.
I'm lucky in that regard. Not all horror, but my wife loves a lot of horror. Like she loves The Exorcist. She loves a lot of horror. Yeah,
my wife does not like.
Not at all.
She'll let me in October pick out, like, curate the movies we watch in October. But as far as like going, like I go to the movies to see like a horror movie like by myself, which I'm okay with, but I'm always looking for people like to hang out with and watch horror
and just
movies.
talk movies and I get it. Yeah, that's why when I found Tyson, the guy who does the show, I really wish you'd love him. He's great.
Yeah,
and I met him at actually we'll talk about this later, but there's a little tiny town con that I met him at several years, just a few years ago. I mean, actually, now I think about it, it was like 2018, I think.
Yeah,
it was 2018. But dude, we were like fast friends because as soon as you meet somebody and they're into the same weird crap that you are, you're like, oh, I love this guy. So yeah, no, I get it. I 100% get it.
Definitely, and we're not far away from each other. So
totally, man. Absolutely.
Quick car ride.
Indeed. All right, my friend. Well, thank you again for being here. And remember, at Mom and Pops, our love of
shot on video horror films,
of course, never stops.
Yes.
Mom and Pop's Video Shop.